Alright guys, so here's the video for concept 3A. If you notice up at the top, it says 7 in S1 and 7 in S2. So this is where we're going to start taking a look at those 7th grade standards, operations with integers. So now we're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide negative numbers as well as positive numbers. So concept 3A has to do with addition, and we've broken it into two parts. The first part is when we're adding integers that have the same sign. Now you guys already know what to do if you have two integers that are both positive, but we just need to practice really quickly what to do if both of your integers are negative. It says to add integers with the same sign, add the absolute values of the integers and use the sign of the integers for the sum. So that's kind of a long way to say ignore the sign, add the integers, and place your sign at the end. So take a look at the first one. Negative 7 plus negative 6. The absolute value of negative 7 is 7. The absolute value of negative 6 is 6. When I add those together, I get 13. Now, because they're both negative, I'm going to go ahead and give my answer the negative sign as well, and my answer would be negative 13. This next problem is exactly the same, but the order has changed. Hopefully you remember learning in 5th grade that you can change the order of the addition problem and not change the answer. We call that the commutative property of addition. I want you to know that it's the same thing for negative numbers as well. So the absolute value of negative 6 is 6, and I'm going to add that to the absolute value of negative 7, which is 7. 6 plus 7 is 13, and I use the sign that goes with both of the integers. Again, my answer is negative 13. Alright, let's do this next one together. Negative 32 plus negative 38. The absolute value of negative 32 is 32, and the absolute value of negative 38 is 38. I'm going to add those together, and I get 70. But I need to give the 70 the negative sign out front, because both negative 32 and negative 38 together would make negative 70. Alright, I want you to go ahead and try. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Hold on. There we go. I want you guys to go ahead and try the your turn by yourself. So pause the video. After you try it, turn it back on, and let's compare our answers. Alright, absolute value of negative 56 is 56. The absolute value of negative 11 is 11, and when I add those together, I get 67. The only thing I'm missing is my negative sign. So the answer to that problem is negative 67. Alright, if you got that right, we'll keep going. If you missed it, you need to pause the video and either ask for help or go back over it and see what you did wrong. Okay, continuing on with concept 3A. So we're still looking at adding integers, but this time it's when they have different signs. That means one's positive and one is negative. So even though it says addition, we're actually going to subtract and find the difference between them. So if you look at the rule, it says subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. Use the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value for the sum. So I'm going to take the absolute value of negative 51, which is 51, and the absolute value of 23, which is 23, and I'm going to subtract. Okay, 51 minus 23 is 28. Now, I need to figure out if it's a positive 28 or a negative 28. So I go back to my original problem. Which number has the greater absolute value? Negative 51 or positive 23? Great, negative 51. Good job. So because negative 51 has a greater absolute value, my answer is going to be negative 28. The next problem you see is kind of like what we said before. Same problem, I just changed the order. And I want to show you that we're going to get the same answer because it's an addition problem. So I'm going to take the absolute value of 51. I'm going to subtract the absolute value of 23. And I get 28. Which number has the greater absolute value? Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'll get better at this. Okay, negative 51, so this has to be negative 28. All right, let's do this third one together. Negative 4 plus positive 61. Because they have different signs, I'm actually going to subtract their absolute values. So 61 minus 4. I get 57. And my answer is going to be positive 57 because positive 61 has a greater absolute value than negative 4. All right, so now I want you guys to try the last two. Go ahead and pause the video, work them out, and get an answer. Then when you're ready, start it back up and let's compare and see how you did. All right, so for the first one, you should have had an answer of negative 29. Because the absolute value of negative 45 minus the absolute value of 16 is 29. And since negative 45 has a greater absolute value than 16, I'm going to use the negative symbol in front of my answer. On the next one, you should have gotten an answer of negative 56. Subtract their absolute values, and then use the sign of the number that's farthest from 0. So since negative 79 is farther away from 0 than 23, I'm going to go ahead and put the negative sign in front of 56. All right, so we're done with concept 3A. What to do when we have to add negative numbers. Let's review really quickly the two rules. If both of the integers are negative, then add like normal and put the negative sign in front of your answer. But if you have a problem where one of the numbers is negative and one is positive, subtract and then use the sign of the number that's farthest away from 0.